Irondale. Come on down. Kim has been with the city for approximately a couple of years now. Kim, and when I see Kim, you think when you see her, you think of her. She wouldn't be too rough because she just looks so sweet and nice and everything. But she has a rough side to her, and you probably don't want to get into a rumble with Miss Kim. So, Kim, at this time, I would like to give you this plaque and just thank you for the contributions that you're constantly making to the city of Iron. I'm keeping your certificate. Second individual that I would like to present is Ms. Madison Toll. Is that right, Madison? Did I get it right? I'm sorry, it's Towel. Madison has been with us less than a year. Half? Okay. So look at Madison. She doesn't look like she could smack you around, but she can though. So we're just grateful to have Miss Madison here with us, and we look for stay with us for a while. Okay. The next two officers that I'm going to present a plaque to, they are fresh. They're right off the press. I don't even think they've been here a couple of months yet, have they, Chief? But they got experience. They got experience. So I have Ms. Lindsay Bumpers. Lindsay worked for the city of Tarrant, and she transferred to the city of Irondale, and we are so happy to have her. She participated a couple of weeks in the food drive, or the food giveaway that we had, out front. So she's come to the city of Irondale. She's plugged right into everything that is going on here. And Ms. Lindsay, we are glad to have you here in the city of Irondale. Last but not least, whenever we start the police basketball team up, hey JL, we have a point guard from UAB.
Pass it to me.
She can pass the
Okay,
ball
we're
to
good.
you. She'll set you up on the wings, but she better be passing the ball to the mayor if she's gonna continue to stay here for a while. But Miss Brittany Moore. Um, Brittany come to the city of Irondale from UAB. And I remember when the chief was actually interviewing them, or I was talking to one of the other mayors, and I was telling him that our chief was interviewing for some positions that we had available here at the city of Irondale. And he asked me, he said, well, are you in the interviews? And I'm like, why do I need to be in the interviews? I said, we have very capable leaders here at the city. I do not need to get into the interview process, but they do allow me to talk to the person after they've hired them or before they actually get started on the job. So Ms. Brittany came to the office, and that's when the chief shared with me that she had some basketball skills. So we're going to go ahead and revive this city basketball team. Brittany, you're going to play point guard, and I'm going to be the shooting guard, which means that you're going to have to give it up to me a lot. So we stay in good graces. So we're glad to have Miss Brittany Moore with us. Okay, for the verbal side of my mayor's report, I'm good. Oh, okay. Um, on today, I had an opportunity to cut the ribbon at the new WeatherTech building that is right down the street from their old building. It's in the old Loans Electronics building. They did a fantastic job in renovating that building. Also, Councilwoman Cuellar was there today, as well as Council Pro Tem Bobby Joe Wilson. So we had a chance to be able to take a tour of the facility. We also ate some chicken minis and some fruit as well. But it was a wonderful event, and they really made a major investment in one of the top companies in the city of Irondale, and we want to make sure that we retain them here. Secondly, I wanted everybody to know that when the American CARES Act was passed last week, the $1.9 trillion that was passed by the Senate and the House, that the city of Irondale within the next 30 to 60 days should receive $2.39 million as our share from that act. So it doesn't have a lot of stipulations with it, but we are really looking forward to receiving it because we didn't budget it. We wasn't looking forward to it. But there are some things that we will be able to do with it here, at the city. A couple of things that I've thought about is creating a rental assistance plan for individuals that are struggling with being able to pay the mortgages or being able to pay the rent. Those are one of the things that was a part of that act that they said that we could do as a city. The other one is being able to provide grants to small businesses that have struggled during the pandemic season, and looking forward to maybe setting aside a sum of money and having grants from anywhere from $1,000 up to $25,000 to be able to help those businesses that are struggling and to be able to help them get on their feet. I realize that when you're a blessing to other individuals, that money has a way of coming back to you. So any way that we can invest in the community, that we can invest in the businesses that are here, I feel like we will be rewarded for that in the future. On Wednesday, the 18th, I had an opportunity to hike the Floral Johnston Nature Park, and it was a very learning experience for me. My friend Daryl Washington, he loves to hike, and when I heard that we had the trail and we had some complaints about people saying that the Irondale side of the trail wasn't kept up, I thought the best way to be able to determine if that was true was to be able to walk the trail myself. So I had a chance to be able to walk the trail. Almost died halfway on the way, but we didn't walk the whole 2 miles. We walked a mile and we came up right there, if you know where those power lines is. And I mean, it's straight up the hill for about 2 or 3 blocks. And if you look at the picture and you see me taking the picture in front of the sign, the only reason I was taking the picture in front of the sign because I was catching my breath at that point. And we just decided to do a photo off there at the same time. But we're looking forward to opening up the Flora Johnston side of the city of Irondale, and I would like to get with Frank in our Public Works Department and to be able to discuss how we can open up our side and that our people that live in Irondale can have the opportunity to be able to use it. On Saturday, April the 3rd, I'm going to have the message with the mayor. I usually do it on the first Sunday, but it's Easter, and we're going to be able to honor that. So instead, we're going to do it on Saturday, and it's going to be Saturday at 6 o'clock on Facebook Live. The individual that's going to be interviewing me is Mr. Paul Francis Tierney. He's one of the Irondale residents that live on the north side. So I'm looking forward to that interview. What we're going to focus on, we're going to talk about the comprehensive plan. The month of April, we're going to spend most of our time, and the main thing that we're going to be promoting from the mayor's office is making sure that everybody get involved with the comprehensive plan. And on that day, we're going to also roll out a website that will allow citizens to go and take a survey and to be able to tell us exactly how they want the city to move forward, or what is their vision for the city as we begin to move forward in the future. So please make sure that you tune in on Saturday or at some point in time. I would like for you to look at the video because the comprehensive plan is very important, and we want to make sure that we receive a lot of participation. The last plan, we received 467 responses. This time, I'm looking for us to be able to double that and to have at least 1,000 individuals to respond to the survey. Based on 1,000 responses, you can do a very sophisticated statistical analysis to be able to determine what the other 13,000 people would like to have in the city of Irondale. So we are praying that we actually have 1,000 individuals to be able to do that, so it will give us enough data to be able to plot the course or to be able to create the blueprint for the city of Irondale moving forward. Also in the month of April, on April the 10th and the 24th, we're going to have the food drive giveaway. Also, we're going to be able to do it on March the 27th. I think March the 27th will be the next time that we do it. And we would like to give away 200 hams as well as the 200 boxes of food that we usually receive. We realize that the following Sunday is Easter, so we can provide people with some meat and also provide them with the boxes. I feel like that would be a great gift to be able to give to individuals that live in the city of Irondale. Also on April the 10th, I have scheduled a low-impact hike with the mayor at Ruffner Park. It's going to take place at 10 o'clock, and we're going to meet on the ballpark side of Ruffner Mountain in the parking lot. So anybody who would like to go and hike into a low impact, now they shared with me this is supposed to be a flat trail. So if you hadn't walked in a long time, hadn't exercised in a long time, this will be a perfect opportunity for you to be able to get involved with being able to do that. Also, we're going to kick off the comprehensive plan, which is called Blueprint Irondale, on April the 15th at Shays Valley High School. We're going to have the kickoff. It's going to be in the cafeteria there. And there's many people that would love to come out because we definitely have the spacing to be able to do it. We would like for you to come and to be able to share in person what you want the city of Irondale to look like in the future. And on Monday, April the 19th, if you are afraid to come out because of COVID and you don't want to be around people, we're going to do a virtual broadcast to be able to capture that same information. As I stated earlier, we want everybody to be able to participate in the process. We want all and every voice in the city of Irondale to be heard. So please participate in some form of fashion. We're going to send it out in the mail. We're going to be able to have it where you can go online to do it. We're going to be able to go door to door. If there's neighborhoods that want me to do a Zoom call and to be able to do that. So any way that we can reach people in the community to be able to capture their responses, this is the plan as we move forward to implementing the comprehensive plan. And last but not least, we're also going to have the household hazardous waste drop-off day on Saturday the 24th, 2021 at Classic Car Motoring. We will have some information on the website to let you know what you can drop off and what you can't drop off. And this really is my last statement. But this is my last statement as a proud parent. Last week, we talked about Christian getting his 1,000 points, and he also got his 500 rebounds in. But on yesterday, he was named first team all conference. So I would just like to give him a shout out for making first team conference and making everybody in the Stewart household, making all of us proud, as well as the citizens in Irondale, because last year or this year, whenever they would announce his name, they would always say Christian Stewart from Birmingham, Alabama. But his mother would always get on the announcers and say, no, we don't live in Birmingham. We live in Irondale, Alabama. So we want you to say Irondale, Alabama when you announce his name. So I just want to thank Christian for that wonderful accomplishment, and I wish him much success as he furthers his career and desire to go play overseas and to make a lot of money so his daddy can start working. At this time, I turn it over to you, Council President, and thank you for allowing me all this time to be able to give an update about what's going on in the city of Irondale.
Thank you, Mayor. You always have a lot of good stuff to report, and you're implementing a lot of good stuff, so very happy to hear it. So thank you very much for that. Now we find ourselves at our department heads. I know we've got a few department heads with us due to some agenda items. If y'all would like to deliver a report at this time, or just about any ongoing business, that would be great. I would say that I would plan on calling on y'all later in the evening as we get to these agenda items. So if you do feel like delivering a report right now, it's not crucial that we talk about the business items yet. Yes, ma'am.
No, Melanie Colston, Court Super. I just wanted to update. We ended up calling. And then the afternoon session, I thought it was going to be right because it was the afternoon. I started getting a lot of people. Ended up bringing outstanding 16 to get those warrants. Well, then they got paper license.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We have any other department heads that would like to report at this time? Fair enough. Now we find ourselves with the council member reports. So Councilman London.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see all of you here this evening. I just have a few things. First of all, I want to say thank you to Lieutenant Wiggins, Chief Wiggins, Lieutenant Chief Wiggins, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Chief Wiggins, can I say that? For being intentional of hiring a female police officer in the city of Irondale. You know, it's something I've been harping on forever, and he can tell you, as chairperson of police years ago, something I've been harping on is to make sure that we have a representation of female population here in Irondale as well as everybody else. So I just want to say thank you for intentionally. And Brittany, AUM, we won't hold that against her, won't we? Kristen, you know, AUM, Birmingham Southern kind of rivalry deal. We won't hold that against her. But good mayor, she's a good point guard, so I think we're going to be in good shape. We don't have to handle it anymore. So thank you.
We're too old to handle it now anyway.
Yeah, we're too old to handle it anyway, so we always need a good body to handle it. So, but I just want to thank you, and Mayor, thank you for allowing Lieutenant Williams to be intentional in that. So thank you for that. Also, one thing that we have really talked about, and Councilman Wilson and Councilman Spivey will talk about this some. We know that the World Games is on its way next year, and I really like for Irondale to be a part of that conversation. And I know it's not too late now because I think we have something to offer people. They're going to be staying, in our hotels, and they're going to be eating in our restaurants. You know, we got some opportunity for maybe to host some events here So I would love to, for us, Mayor and Council President, to get around the table. And, I have a contact down there that I can make a phone call and see how we can get around the table and be part of the World Game that's coming to town in Birmingham. I know it's coming to Birmingham, but I'm telling you, it's going to affect Irondale big time. So y'all better get ready. Because I see some folks here in Irondale that you've never seen before and may not ever see again. So we're excited about that. I've been talking to some concerned parents with children, which is important. My kids are grown. I got grandbabies now, so about our youth sports, which is right now non-existent. And so spring break is next week, and I told the parents spring break is next week. I will be scheduling a meeting with the principal at the high school. Something came to me, and I want to share it with him. And I'm also going to be scheduling a meeting with he and all the head coaches at the high school. One thing I know from coaching myself for 30-something years, if you want to have a program, if you want your program to have some success, you have to get involved with the younger kids at the high school. You can't start at the high school. You got to start at the elementary school. So after spring break is over, I'm scheduling a meeting with the principal and all their head coaches up there. And Mayor, if I can, maybe you can be part of that meeting also. And I know we can't have more than one council, two councils there, but have a conversation with the head coaches and see how we can get involved and get our youth sports back and running. This is what I thought about council. All y'all gonna be thinking about this too. We don't have a rec center, but we do have 3 basketball courts located here in Irondale. Actually, we have 5 basketball courts located here in Irondale. Chase Valley High School has 2. Irondale Community has 1. Irondale Middle School has 1, and Grantsville Community has 1 also. So we have enough basketball courts. Our baseball fields, some of them are playable, but Chase Valley have baseball and a softball field. They have a brand new turf football field that we can play soccer and football on. And so there are some opportunities I think that we have here that we need to be thinking on and not waiting on Ruffner getting built, waiting on that to finish or waiting on a building to get built. But there are some opportunities that I think if we put our heads together as a council and with the principals and the coaches there at the high schools and at the middle schools and even down at the elementary schools, I think we can get something going that I think the city of Irondale could be proud of. So I'm going to schedule that meeting in a couple of weeks, and then I'll let you guys know how that goes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and for those that are tuning in also, thank you for tuning in. As Mayor Stewart noted, I was at the ribbon cutting ceremony for WeatherTech Distributing Company. And just to kind of give you a brief summary on the services that they provide, they are the authorized distributor in North Alabama for Carrier heating and cooling products, both residential and light commercial, as well as the Payne residential product line. They also offer a comprehensive selection of supplies, tools, and replacement parts. And during the ribbon cutting ceremony, their company president, Spencer Atkins, explained that they needed a bigger facility because they had outgrown their 40,000 square foot building, and they wanted to remain in Irondale. So last January of 2020, they closed on a warehouse structure 2 blocks from their former building facility. And ladies and gentlemen, as the mayor stated, they made a significant investment in renovating this building structure. It is very impressive. It is 2 stories, and it provides them with 92,000 square feet. They have state-of-the-art technology, very comfortable areas to meet with residential clients. And they also have a nice kitchen and break room on both floors. And here's the good news. They currently have 72 employees. 35 of them work at the Irondale headquarters, and they have room to hire more employees as they continue to expand. All of this is very exciting. They have a training room to train 60 technicians at one time. They have a retail store that sells many items that we all need and use. For instance, as I perused through their retail store, I noticed that they had smart thermostats, wasp and yellow jacket spray, and the foam as well, gloves, hand cleaner, toolboxes, sturdy, durable hoses, air conditioning filters, air purifiers, and the one that really got my attention is they have an air purifier that is proven to eliminate coronavirus that's trapped on the filter, along with other bacteria that causes the virus that brings forth the common cold. So for those of you that are interested, their location is Highway 78, right behind the U.S. Post Office here in Irondale. Go down the street, you turn to the left, and you'll see their beautiful building structure. And if you want to enter the address on your GPS, their address is 501 28th Street South. That's 501 28th Street South. And I also would like to note that many of you may recall that Charles Desmond, our former building inspector, had been undergoing treatments for cancer for a while now. And I saw on a Facebook post about a week and a half ago that I read about his death, and I was deeply saddened to read about it. He was a very dedicated building inspector who served Irondale very well, and he was also a good man. And so I'd like to extend my sympathy and condolences to his family. And I want them to know that I, along with many residents in Irondale, are very grateful for his dedication and service to our Irondale community. And lastly, I'd like to thank our abatement board for the tremendous work they've been doing in our city, in our Irondale community. These board members are Marty Schwartz, Antonio Inda, Jerome Munsford, and Johnny Williams. And I'd also like to thank our building inspector, Greg Cochran, and our assistant fire chief, Brad Doss, for working with our abatement board to ensure that residential and commercial structures are maintained and in compliance with our building and fire codes. So if you see these gentlemen, please thank them, because the work that they are doing is making a difference in our community. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. It's kind of hard to follow these two. They cover pretty much all the thunder that I had. So I'm anxious to see what Councilman Wilson can do after this. But just a couple of quick notes. Thanks again to the mayor for recognizing all of our female first responders, and in fact, really all of our female employees here at Irondale during this female recognition. I am looking at, in the very near future, trying to have a public safety and library committee meetings. That'll be the end of the quarter here in a week or so, so I'd like to get that scheduled with the department heads, announcement with appropriate time so that citizens can be involved. We're also looking at a few things. The mayor and I have discussed about some parks out in the District 4 area. I'm also working with Frank from Public Works to take care of. He's looked at areas for potholes that have been called upon to be addressed for us. That other two associates here have stolen most of the thunder I may have had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Wilson?
Yeah, follow that, killer.
I have much, but yes.
Seven.
10, the 7. Ordinance
An ordinance.
I would like. Wonderful. And
You're absolutely correct.
so knowing we got a year. There's several. So it's good. Get some. So but I would also pass on March. I'm sorry. My best friend. Uh, it's PM. I would just. If we could, at our next council.
Okay, we sure will.
I just want to make this an. I want to. Hear that. Always got. After all, since people that's out hills, I wish they did. Don't, know some of this. Out of my duties as a worker, practice. you know, you know, question person. But names that give me out. Meantime, homestead. Months later. Miss Ross. School here. And when I'm always been anything. I want to put that out.
Thank you, sir. And we've had a lot of fantastic things covered tonight during these reports. Councilman London, I would love to get with you concerning the World Games. I remember quite fondly when the Olympics came to Atlanta, going to a soccer match at Legion Field. So those types of global events do proliferate out into the nearby areas. So absolutely, we should find a way to
Awesome.
grab a hold of whatever we can. And then Councilwoman Cuellar, you said some great things tonight, especially about Mr. Desmond. I know I saw that. It was kind of a shock to me. He was you ever had to deal with him, it was either a good thing or a bad thing. It just depended on what side of things you're on. But he was overall, I felt that he was a good guy, and I really think that he had the city in his heart and everything like that. I know a lot of people worked a lot closer with him than I did, but I did enjoy our chats and things of that nature. And Councilman Box, definitely piggyback on a few things that you said tonight. And it gets a little skinnier as it comes down this way. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that was ready to respond last night. Mayor, I know you said you were in your office with some of our first responders and department heads till 11-ish, something like that.
Oh no, David, it was about 5 or 6.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm not worried about him then. But for all the first responders and things that were standing on the ready line, once again, I thank you. And Frank, I know that you were probably ready if the tree fell across the road or something like that to immediately get after it. So I know our department heads are constantly looking to take the best care of our citizens as possible, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Council President, can I one more thing? One more thing.
Yes,
I want to thank Shades Valley High School. My daughter's a senior at Grambling University. They hosted Grambling University women's basketball team on last Friday, need a shoot around. So I just want to say a special thank you to Shades Valley High School, Coach Ferguson, for going over there and open up the gym so they can have basketball and things to shoot around with. So I just want to thank, special thank to Shades Valley High School for opening up their gym for Grambling women's basketball team on last Friday.
Understood. Councilman Wilson?
Yes, Mr. President, I mention one more thing. We have Coach King with from the Shades Valley High School softball team, varsity. Is it varsity? Coach King, come and speak to the council. Minutes.
Absolutely. We talked about that, and we both allowed that to skip over.
I had some of my time, Coach. I mean,
Please.
I just got carried away with something. So.
Please, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate you, Councilman Wilson, for reaching out to me, asking me to be here tonight. My name is Chris King, and for the last 11 years, I've been an AP U.S. history teacher at Shades Valley and the head softball coach. I've also been an assistant football coach. Graduated from the old Shades Valley. Both my daughters graduated from Shades Valley. So, but it's been an unexpected pleasure to be here tonight because Jennifer was a student of mine, and I had no idea I was going to be here. Emotional, but this is why we teach. History teaches us that knowledge is power. Frederick Douglass taught us that, amongst others, and Jennifer proves it again tonight. So, this is just an honor for me to be here. I'm so glad I was here. Thanks. But I am here tonight because we have a need in the softball program. For the last 11 years, we've had to use a temporary fence, temporary outfield fence. We had to share our facility with the band, so in the summertime, we would always take down that fence, and they would use the field to do their spatial work. And now that we have artificial turf on the football field, that need is not there, and we've been given permission to put in a permanent outfield fence. And we have a softball booster club who is committed to making this project happen. OJ Fence has come out and they've given us estimates, and they've actually going to allow us to finance the fence for about 30 or 45 days, give us time to raise money so that we can get this thing in place. Temporary fence we have is worn out. It's a mesh fence, and every time the wind blows, half of it falls down. And you know, we want to be a legitimate 6A softball program, and we have an opportunity to host the area tournament this year. So we're trying to raise money for this fence, and we're trying to do it ourselves. We sell T-shirts. We have a JV tournament scheduled April the 10th that will raise money from that as well. Our girls are putting together a snap raise. But when Councilman Wilson found out about our project, he reached out to me, and certainly any kind of supplemental income that we could get to go towards the project would be appreciated. And it's interesting, Councilman London, the comments you made. We certainly would love to work with the city to develop youth programs. In the past, unfortunately, we haven't had a legitimate softball field we can use in the summertime, but if we get this permanent fence up, we'd love to be able to work with the city to put on youth camps or whatever we need to do to develop the interest in this community in softball amongst the other sports. So I wanted to pass that information on. Thank you very, very much for your time. Again, the softball boosters, along in conjunction with the Shades Valley High School, Mr. Sahan is behind us with this project, and we're trying to make this happen in the next month so we can enjoy the rest of the season. We have a lot of home games coming up, so thank you very much for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Coach King. And you know, I'm just say something real quick. You know, they had an opportunity, Mrs. Sahan and Coach King had an opportunity to come here, but they really didn't want to come to the city because they thought they were asking for too much already. And I told them no, because the city, that's what we're here for. We're here to support our kids, here to support our schools. We're here to increase the quality of life just for our citizens here in Irondale. So, you know, saying that, I would like to commit from my discretionary fund, if that's the case, if I could, to help with the cause of building that permanent fence at the city, if I could. Of course, I have to get that approved, run it through the attorney, just to make sure we can use it for that particular purpose. That's all I have.
Thank y'all. Lastly, so once again, thank you for everybody being on the ready line last night with the storms and everything. I know I'm a big weather geek, so I had my ham radio out last night on my island in my kitchen. I was listening to Jefferson County emergency response and everything like that. So I just find that stuff interesting. But it fizzled out, and for those that it didn't fizzle out for, we think about their families and everything like that were affected. But we thank the Lord for His mercy in our neighborhoods and taking care of our families. That being said, I know that next month's meetings and everything are going to require a little bit more space. We have some things that we want to discuss. Mayor, if you could just kind of, from a high-level standpoint, cover those two meeting topics.
Okay, I wanted to ask the council for the month of April that if we could meet at Shades Valley High School. For the first meeting, I would like to honor Mr. Bagwell, who served on the council. He was in District 2. Let Councilman Wilson make the presentation to his family. But I would also like to present to Mike Coppage, who served on the council when I was on the council. He also lives in District 3. And I've already reached out to his wife, as well as Alan Ramsey, who was a former mayor here at the city of Irondale, also served as a city councilor. And I would just like to honor their families for the service that their husbands have provided to the city of Irondale. And of course, they would like for their family members to come and be present when the wives are presented with these awards. So I was thinking that we would need a bigger space instead of trying to do it here and march people in and out, that if we could do it at the high school, then we would have the appropriate space to be able to do it. We'll have the social distancing, and all of the families will be able to invite their family members to participate in this wonderful occasion. On April the 21st, we have 2 ordinances that we adopted at the last council meeting that are going to be public hearings, and both neighborhoods would like for their neighbors to turn out to that meeting and to be able to speak on behalf of the improvements for the Old Overton Trail community, as well as for the Mountain Lake Estates community. Again, we need space to be able to do that. We cannot have 60 or 70 people in this room, and I think it's inconvenient to be able to march people in and out, and everybody can't be here, be able to hear the conversations that are taking place during the public hearing, and to be able to share that information with the council. So I'm asking the council, if they can find it from the kindness of their heart, that they would allow us, or you all would allow the next 2 meetings for the month of April to be at the high school, so that we will have space to be able to accommodate our citizens for these 2 events.
Thank you, sir. I know that we don't need an official resolution for that, but do we have any issues with that? Move a venue for the next 2 meetings?
I do not.
Okay. Everybody's good? Councilman Linden, I can't see. Perfect. Thank you. That looks like that will work. That concludes my report. We move on now to reports of boards and non-council committees. Mr. Schwartz. Okay. If you have something to report from your board, please do so. But I do plan on possibly calling on you when we get into these upcoming public hearings. Do we have any other non-council or special committees that need to report tonight? Fair enough. Now we're going to get into the council deliberation on agenda items only. We have a few public hearings tonight, which take up our first 3 agenda items. So we are going to move past those as we deliberate our agenda. So we find ourselves at, and there, please note on the new business 1, 2, and 3, it was listed as, I think, 2018 on the copy. That we need to make a point when we're calling these out tonight to make sure it's 20, like the first one, 2021-R-20, not 2018. So that would fall in line for the first 3 pieces of new business. And then we find ourselves at item number 4, which would be resolution 2021-R-23, authorizes the mayor to contract with Rocky Ridge Fire Department for EMS billing services. If I could have Chief McDaniel come up. I know some of these items fall under your purview. So as opposed to going through each one of them one by one, we're just going to kind of take them in sections. I figure that would be the best use of time. So that is R23, contract with Rocky Ridge Fire District for EMS billing services. Item number 5 is resolution 2021-R24 that authorizes the mayor to enter into a business associate agreement with Rocky Ridge Fire Department. That also falls under your purview, sir. And then resolution 2021-R25 also authorizes the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement for the North Alabama Cooperative Purchasing Association. So Chief, if you could kind of take us through those 3.
Yes, so the ones with Rocky Ridge, they're kind of same venture of getting billing portion of the EMS transporting started for us. They're going to get us help set up so that we can get set up with Medicare, Medicaid, and any of the other insurance companies to be able to bill them. There's a process to get that done before we can actually start billing. So they're going to help that get started, as well as when we do start transporting, this is the agreement for us and to collect the money. They bill for several fire departments around. I know Trustful uses Cabo Valley. We're not like the only ones that are doing it. It's a thing that they do it. They have someone dedicated to do it, and what they charge, hire someone. So as far as this is just the contract so that we can get the billing started and get that process. Because like I said, it could be up to 6 months process to get through with Medicare. pay to help to do. The cooperative purchasing is just a agreement for us to be able to purchase items. More specifically, the Allcom that does our radios. The radio units themselves are under the state contract. That's not a big deal. We wanted to have one place that we could have our lighting, striping, all that done at one place, and if we have any issues, back to one. We can use this cooperative purchasing or association that already bid items without having it, just like any other cooperative purchasing.
And then the 2020, the 24, that one right there, I think that has to do with the billing, but it also is more about just non-disclosure of health and things that could be basically disclosed in the billing process.
Correct.
Essentially, they just kind of mirror each other. Okay. Thank you, sir. While you're up here, we're going to go ahead and, like I said, take them a little bit one by one. So, Councilman London, do you have any questions for Chief?
Just one question on the Rocket Ridge Fire District. I think you answered my question about the benefits of doing it. I think you just answered that. And we don't have anybody qualified to do that on staff already. Am I correct?
Correct, and their history with doing it, they know their person can look at a report that's done and tell what's going to get kicked back and what's going to go through. So they can very quickly look at the report and come back to us. Hey, little items need to be fixed, or whatever. So they can spot that really quick. And so we would have to train someone to do that, and they're doing it for $30 a report. And I know I spoke with a couple of other departments that had looked at doing it themselves or couldn't find anywhere that we could do. Couldn't find it, where we could do it ourselves and it'd be cost effective. Because I mean, their recovery rate is pretty high for they submit to.
And also on point 9, they're making funds available to Irondale twice a month. Who's going to be monitoring it on our side to make sure that we are collecting money, or when they're making money available, we're collecting our part of the money? Who's going to be monitoring on our side?
On our side, it will be through the department. We will do that departmentally, as far as our person that's going to be in charge of EMS, or that is in charge of EMS, as well as it will go to anything we bring in comes down through the revenue department as well. So we'll know how many runs we submit to them to get billed for, and then we'll be able to follow up with that to make sure that we're getting back what we have sent to them to be.
Okay. All right.
Councilman Clear?
Yes, I have some questions. Chief McDaniel, how much will we be charging for EMS transport services?
So, and that's something we're in the middle of working on right now, but I mean, you can just pretty much figure Blue Cross is going to pay, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're going to collect around anywhere from $900 to $1,000 of transport. Then if you have non-insurance, that's going to come back to you guys to decide what, we're going to do with those, which it says in that agreement. The city will determine, if we're going to write that off, if we're going to pursue it for collections. And then you can guess around $300 to $400 for your Medicare, Medicaid. They're going to pay a certain amount, and that's what they're going to pay. And then, like I said, the rest of that. But it really is going to depend on the transport to give you a definite number, because you have an ALS transport where we would do, IV fluids, drugs, things like that. It's going to be more advanced in nature, and there may be some that are BLS related, which we may not use fluids, or we may not use drugs for that. So that one may not cost as much, versus going to depend on the transport as to what the charge would be.
Next question was, how many EMS transport calls did the fire department have last year?
For the past 3 years consecutively, it's been an average of about 750 per year.
Okay. And you mentioned that the Rocky Ridge Fire District has billing services with Trussville and Cahaba Valley. Is that correct?
Those are the ones that I've talked to that I know of. I know they do bill for more, but for those I know of, yes.
Okay. Do you consider other billing service providers?
So the other common one that places use, there's three departments around here that use a different company, but they also have to use a different reporting software, which would cause us to have to change the software we're already using at another cost to the city, and then a learning curve for everyone else. So not only are we adding more responsibility for what we're doing, we're going to have to teach people to use a whole new software. Where not Cobb Valley, Rocky Ridge already uses software that we use and is familiar, so the transition of getting those reports to them is more streamlined.
All right, I have two more questions. The agreement states that Irondale will give direction to Rocky Ridge on how to collect on past due accounts, and it lists the three options. The first one is that the account can be sent to a collection agency. Secondly, the account can be sent to an attorney for collection, or the account can be charged off. Did you state that it would be up to the council to decide on how to hold past due accounts?
And Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, or that was my assumption, that it's dealing with money. That would have to go back to, I mean, it's going to be above my head to make that decision.
Well, I would say that if anything is going to be forgiven, you would have to bring that before the council, because we don't have the authority to be able to forgive a debt. But if we're going to decide which way we're going to collect it, by going through an attorney or going to a collection agency, that would be more of an administrative function. We would decide that in-house, how we would handle that. Right now, we go through collection services for the water department to be able to do that collection. So I'm assuming that we would just add that feature to the service that is already being provided out of a company in Montgomery that collects on the water side.
Thank you, Mayor. The last question is that in the agreement, it talks about how the payments for these billing services are done, and you mentioned that it would be $30 per transport billing ticket. The second one would be $1 per month for accounts receivable. So if you have someone that wants to pay over, let's say, 3 or 4 months, that would be an additional $4 if it's 4 months. And then there's an ACH charge of $35 for a monthly invoice, which enables them to do it electronically to file the insurance claims. So I'm just kind of doing just an example. So if we have 10 transport services, that's $300. It's 10. If you got 4 of those accounts that are paid month to month, and let's say 4 months to keep the math simple, you're looking at $16. Okay, and then let's say the other 6 are done by electronic with insurance companies. That's $35. So roughly, give or take, 316 plus $35. You're looking at $351, based on an example of 10 transport services. Is that correct?
I would have to trust your math on that. That's
Yeah.
numbers I wasn't prepared to hear and do math in my head. So yeah.
Okay, just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Councilman Box?
I have no questions. She covered everything, and then Chief and I had spoken before.
Councilman Wilson? And I have none either. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. So that carries us through 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, I do have one more question. What's our source of funding for this?
Source of funding.
Yep, to pay for these services. Forgot to ask that question.
So the source to pay for the transport billing, I would assume we would have a fund that would come from what we were bringing in, correct?
Yes. Were these, I guess the question, are you asking, are these budgeted items or what?
Yeah,
line
because
items?
I looked at the fire
These-
department's budget, and I didn't know where we're going to be paying for this, so that's why I'm asking.
Okay, I would have to get back with you, sir, to that question.
Do they not just charge a percentage off of what they bill?
From my understanding, that's what I thought. But if we were having to pay back, from what we brought in, that's what I would assume from what we bring in. Part of that money, but I just don't. We've never transported before, so there's not a line item for paying for the billing service.
Typically, the way that is handled, especially when we have credit card transactions here, so I'm not saying this is exactly how it worked, but I am familiar with how we have our credit card set up here. basically people use their credit card, goes through a processor actually collects it, then at the end of the month or during the month, they basically deduct those charges from the revenue that you actually receive. So it wouldn't be a line item where, I mean, you could create a line item if you wanted to do it, but it would probably just be a reduction in the amount of revenue because they would take those charges before they transfer that money to your account.
So as far as tonight goes, we could look at this item since it doesn't have a dollar amount on it and go in with the possible understanding that would be the case. If we do find out that there is an actual expense to the city, we can revisit this resolution and put an actual dollar amount on it. Is that accurate? Or amend the resolution?
Well, if you want to create a separate line item to be able to track it, that was the only way that I would say that it would be a budgeted item. But say, for instance, if they collect $1,000, they say your expenses is $30. Well, that means you're going to only get $970 in revenue. Now, you can record the $970 in revenue if you want to, and you can also create another line item for the $30 that was subtracted from the $1,000, but it's not an additional expense where you are paying it. You're just using that as a way to be able to book it, to be able to determine what's an expense and what was revenue out of that $1,000.
Councilwoman Cuellar, does that satisfy the question?
Yeah, but I mean, I would like a means of tracking what our expenditures are versus what we're bringing in. Most businesses do.
Absolutely, and it sounds like as we're billing these things and we're getting into this agreement, those items will be recorded. We will be able to clearly see the revenue that we're producing as well as the expenses that we're incurring.
Right.
Absolutely. We don't, the fire department doesn't really have a revenue line item that we would normally, so when I submit this, I just submit this is anticipation of revenue and this is anticipation of what the cost is going to be. So,
Right.
so that's why that's.
Yeah, what we did was we didn't even create a revenue line item. We created this line item up under miscellaneous revenue. So everything that would be captured would go up under miscellaneous revenue. Then every expense as far as employees, the vehicle and all of that was expensed off to a line item that's already built into the fire department's budget.
Right. Perfect. Are we
Right.
clear
And
to?
all I want to do is keep track of everything.
Right, I agree.
So that you understand how we're doing with it.
Right, and it sounds like you're going to have a process to monitor that based on what you send out versus what you get back.
Correct.
Perfect. All right, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. All right, so that took us through 4, 5, and 6. We find ourselves now at item number 7 under new business, which is Resolution 2021 R26.
Councilman Spivey, I did want to talk about number 5 and number 6. I had some questions on that one.
Okay.
On those two items.
You used a good bit of your time during your time with Chief McDaniel. How much time do you feel that you need for your additional questions?
Not too much for number 5. Number 6, I would like more information on that one.
All right, go ahead with number 5, and we'll see where we're at.
All right. It talked about protected health insurance information, or protected health information, abbreviated as PHI. I was just wanting to know if there have been instances in the past of the billing staff at Rocky Ridge violating that PHI, and if so, how many were there, and what steps were taken to resolve the violation or violations?
Yeah.
Violation. I can't speak to anything as far as violations that I know of from anyone that I know, or any dealings or any history that we know with it, that I could say they've had violations of violating people's private information.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
That was, okay. Thank you, April.
I mean, everything we deal with as far as EMS, I mean, we pretty much have that kind of already, you know, in part of that. Even when we had paper PCRs, so.
Thank you. And then with number 6, the Cooperative Purchasing Association. How many municipalities are part of this purchasing association?
I want to say there's 6. I
Six.
know there's Huntsville, Madison, a lot of the larger ones up north.
Okay. How are
Of
we going to
Alabama.
go about designating who's going to be who's going to serve on the executive board?
Um,
Are you talking about on the executive board of the co-op?
Yes.
that board's
Usually
created.
you just become a member of the co-op, and once you join the co-op, that allows you to be able to purchase things through the co-op that you do not have to put out for a bid.
Well, the agreement talked about having someone serve on the executive board, and so I was wanting to know who's going to serve on the executive board on behalf of Irondale.
Pretty much talking about, I believe, when they do their annual meetings to discuss what kind of purchases you're going to make and how much you may be purchasing through there.
There's a lot in this agreement. It states that the executive board will vote on a chairperson, and he or she will be authorized to employ a coordinator who will serve as the purchasing agent. It also states that members of this cooperative will share in the employment cost of the coordinator. Do we know how much these shared costs are going to be?
I would say that this co-op is of no cost to the city. Am
That's
I
not what the
correct? Or is there a
agreement said,
membership
Mayor.
fee that you
There
have
is, there is a membership fee for that, yes.
what is the membership
So
fee?
for the continuance of this year, and I thought that was on there, it's $632 for the remainder of the year. If we were to remain in for years after that, it would be $1,152. I might say I may be off a couple dollars there, but it's just over $1,100.
Okay. Now, you mentioned some commodities and services that are going to be bid on, such as radios, lighting, stripping. Do we have an idea of all of the other commodities and services that are going to be bid on?
No, I mean, I can't, they decide that annually what they're going to
But when
put
you
out
say
bids on.
they,
The-
but that
the
requires
board that's
input from the
already-
members,
The board that's already established.
right?
It also says in there that you don't have to participate in any of the contracts. You're not required by, just because the contract's on there, participate in it. We're a part of probably 4 other cooperative purchasing that there's more contracts than I could even care to read, that are just bid on. It's just if there's a group within this cooperative purchasing association that wants to buy things and they know they're going to buy a lot of them, then the board would decide that they want to do a bid on that to be able to get that as part of the cooperative purchasing groups.
Yeah, that's why I was asking a lot of questions about board members, your advisory board, your chairperson, who's going to serve on the executive board. And then Section 6 in this agreement talks about a
One moment,
host
Councilwoman
agency.
Cuellar. I've allowed you to go over 5 minutes. Approximately how much more time do you need so that we can agree as a body to allow you to continue?
5
with
more
your-
minutes.
May we have a motion to allow Councilwoman Cuellar to continue for another 5 moments? 5 minutes.
There's
Thank
a
you.
lot of unanswered questions, and I'd like answers to them.
I understand. Since Councilman Box?
Yeah, I'll give her a motion to continue 5 minutes. I had a couple of questions myself, but she may actually hit those if we do it. But I'd like to really process this pretty much through. Sounds like to me that this is a purchasing co-op of sense, which, having been a professional purchasing agent for years, cannot go wrong with this type of thing. As to whether we have board members on their purchasing co-op or not, that may be something that needs to go forward. As I said, I've worked extensively in certified purchasing, construction, and anytime you can buy things in bulk or have a entity that's buying in bulk, warehousing them for you, and then you can basically order it for them, I don't think.
We have a point of order on the floor. Do we have a second? Okay. Vote your conscience on this. If it does not pass tonight, then you have access to Chief McDaniel in order to ask any additional questions
right.
that you have.
I didn't know that a councilman could speak directly with the department heads. I thought it had to go through the mayor. I didn't ask those questions.
Understood.
What was that question again? I'm sorry.
I had several questions. I wanted to know who the host agency is going to be. because the host agency is going to be housing the coordinator, and the municipalities will share in the cost that are involved in that. Also, the coordinator has the ability to hire other employees, which the municipalities will be sharing in those costs. So there are a lot of costs that are involved here. Don't have answers to those questions.
The cost is 1,100 and the
Well,
dollars
if
I
they
gave you
hire additional
per
employees,
year.
Chief
I have the
McDaniel.
email, I can send the mayor to forward out that that's what it is annually, and it probably would not go up, but we have the option if it goes up to not remain a part of this cooperative.
After
purchasing.
12 months.
Yeah, Council
Which
President.
it wouldn't change until after 12
Mayor,
months.
may you
This,
contribute to this conversation?
Yes, that was a true statement, that, no, council is not in a position where they can question the department heads unless they want to have that conversation with the mayor. Then the mayor directs the council person to be able to do that, but no council person should be going directly to a department head or any other employee in the city requesting anything unless it comes to me, and then I forward that information on. Now, what we're willing to do, for the sake of time, if you want to postpone this resolution to a later date, Councilwoman Cuellar can get all of her questions and put them together, send them an email, send them to us, then we will address them. Hopefully by the next council meeting, we can answer all of those questions. You all can vote it up or down.
Thank you.
I am I'm predicting a tabling of this
Yes.
for 2 weeks until the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll, thank you very much for that,
Thank you.
Daniel, again. So I'm just gonna put a notation on the co-op that we will be tabling that or postponing it till next meeting. So please keep that in mind when the agenda is approved, when we move to approve the agenda. All right, so we find ourselves at new business item number 7, Resolution 2021 R26 that authorizes the mayor to enter into a government obligation contract with Republic First National Corporation. And then this, Police Chief Wiggins, this has your name by it. If you would come on up, sir. If you could start, sir, by please just giving us a brief description of what we're doing. I have a feeling it resembles something that we did 2 weeks ago.
What this is financing purchase of vehicles for budget items, basically financing items that were same company, promise you, a 2-year.
Thank you, sir. Councilman London?
No.
Understood. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yeah, we're replacing vehicles, are we not?
That's correct.
Okay. And yes, it is budgeted here. And just for the benefit of our audience here, I just wanted to note, yes, it is 2 years.
Yes.
It is money that is budgeted in the
Yes.
police department. And so this is good. The first payment's not due until August the 1st in this year, and then next year will be August the 1st as well. I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
No questions on this.
Okay. Councilman Wilson?
No.
Outstanding. And no questions myself, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right. We find ourselves at Resolution 2021 R27 that authorizes the mayor to enter into a non-disclosure agreement with retail specialists related to Project X. Mayor, I know this has your name next to it, but I would like to refer to our city attorney to explain a little bit more about this.
This is an agreement that basically protects information received concerning Project X from public dissemination.
Thank you. Councilman Lennon, any questions? Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
No questions.
Okay. Councilman Wilson?
No.
And myself, no questions as well. Thank you very much. Mayor, it did have your name on it. Is there anything you want to contribute to that? Or do you think she summed it up pretty well?
No, April summed it up very good.
Outstanding. All right, so we find ourselves here, kind of going back to the first page. First and foremost, we're going to go ahead and have our public hearings. So I will need a motion to enter into a public hearing. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Therefore, notice is hereby given that at its regular public meeting beginning at 6:00 p.m. on Wednesday, March 18th, 2021, in the Irondale City Council chambers located at 101 20th Street South, Irondale, Alabama 35210, within Jefferson County, Alabama, the City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens concerning the declaration of 4999 Overton Road, Irondale, Alabama 35210 as a public nuisance and ordered its abatement. That being said, Mr. Schwartz, could you come up and tell us a little bit about that?
My name is Marty Schwartz. I'm chairman of the property disrepair. You can't see it from the road. And Mr. Cochran has like to see. Waters have been in there, fires have been lit. It is not habitable, structurally sound.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. That being said, I would like to hear any interested parties in favor of the abatement. Anyone opposed to the abatement? That being said, does the council have any questions for Mr. Schwartz about this particular abatement?
I just had one comment. It looks like to be a nice home once upon a time. Just looking at the pictures, it looks like it'd be a pretty nice home once upon a time.
Once upon a time, yes.
Yeah. Sad.
Once was a what, please?
Talking about $4.99?
It was a nice home at one
Yeah.
point, I'm sure.
Overton Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of sad.
Not on any historic register or anything like that, is it?
Not that we know of, no.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. All right, and as our wonderful city clerk just pointed out to us, the date on that hearing is incorrect. The day of the week is incorrect, but the date of the month is correct. So for the record, public hearing is on Thursday, March 18th. Okay, moving on to our next public hearing. Notice is hereby given that it's at its regular public meeting beginning at 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 18th, in the Irondale City Council chambers located at 101 20th Street South, Irondale, Alabama 35210, within Jefferson County, Alabama. City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens concerning the declaration, the declaring of 2305 First Avenue South, Irondale, Alabama 35210 as a public nuisance and ordering its abatement. Once again, Mr. Schwartz, if you would come enlighten us on this one.
Avenue South, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Once again, that property is in total disrepair, structurally unsound, not habitable. Really is.
Any questions for Mr. Schwartz on this particular property? Councilman Linden?
Let me just ask one question for all of them. We have a cost on this, on what's this gonna cost to demo?
We've been very fortunate over the past couple of years that most of the time these have taken the property down. Generally, if the city has to perform that service, it's around $5,000 to $10,000, usually on the lower end, depending on whether there's asbestos or not, and that has to be first. It's in the $575 range.
Just for a home? So, the next question, well, we'll talk.
Okay, the next one will.
I'm not gonna, we'll talk. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
Once again, as he just did for all, there is no historic register, anything for any of these buildings, so therefore there would be no funds available through any historic societies for abatement or restoration.
Not as far as we know, no, sir.
Councilman Wilson?
I don't have the budget in front of me, but don't we have a line item for abatement in our
Yes.
budget?
Yes,
We did,
there's,
okay. I
50,000.
know it has been.
I
Always
think, I
has
think
been.
it's $25,000.
$25,000.
Okay.
In the inspections department for demolitions.
Gotcha. Okay. That's all the question I have.
All right, thank you. That being said, thank you, sir. Anybody in favor of this abatement? Yes, ma'am. When you come up to the microphone, if you could state your name and your address for recording. This is in favor of the abatement.
At 20. Somebody has. I was.
Thank you.
Thank
And for housekeeping, I failed to mention it, public comments, 2-minute time cap on that, okay? Any other people in favor of the abatement? Okay. Anyone opposed to the abatement? Yes, sir. State your name and your address, please, sir.
Good evening, Council. Good evening. I'm Greg Stanley. I actually worked out with inspector an agreement to have it renovated, and some of y'all know I Halloween last year. So agreement that we came to, written agreement with the prior inspector, money at the buck. And I apologize that I have left it in that, but fully intend to restore the building. I understand the structural very similar to the other two buildings on First Avenue South that I restored. I would like to restore this one. This one has a little bit of historical significance, although it's not on a register.
Okay.
This particular building, you have a store, bend in it. In front of it was a store. Remember the store, Mr. I can't remember the name. It's escaped my mind. Do you remember the man's name, the name of the store?
No, I do not, but I remember the story. I know who you're talking about.
Yes, sir. So I would ask that the city would 60 days to get the engineering work done from the Cochran so that I can get the store.
Understood. And Mr. Stanley, can we get your address for the record?
I've been getting my mail at my office, which is 20. Sorry. Same as right here, except for it's 201 second.
All right, thank you, sir.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead, sir. I'll go after.
Mr. Stanley, you said 60 days. Is that 60 days to start work on the property or just to get materials ready?
So
What are you referring to now?
The agreement that I had, as I said, I have a written city inspector agreement that was that I was going to take care of all the structural and the exterior, so that the same as I did with the property on South, so that from the outside it's not a nuisance. It's not a nuisance. It just looks like a house from the outside. That would give me time to come back and do the inside as I had.
Is there anything that you could do to remove the toilet and all the blighted site that the neighbor is looking at? Is there anything you could do now
Yes, sir,
to
absolutely.
clean that up?
Councilman Box?
That was my question. Just was there some immediate
Okay.
action that could be taken in the next, few days that would actually change the appearance or at least block the siding,
Yeah.
limit access, try to secure it a little bit.
And again, I apologize that it's taken me. Would ask. I received the abatement letter. It says you have to fix this. As soon as we received the letter, we went. Work on it. And we were told that the city policy not issue any permit. Sit, tear it down, but we can't get a demo permit, tear it down, can't get construction permit. I would ask that the mayor would look at that and
Councilman London?
Well, I'm torn. So you're saying, I think Councilman Wolf has already asked this question. 60 days, because I've seen the pictures. It's in horrible shape. I mean, it really is. So what are you saying that you gonna make it and do it in 60 days to make it acceptable to neighbors? What you gonna do for 60 days? I mean, gonna put paint on it? I mean, what you gonna do?
going to take care of the foundation, the structural issue. What we've already done is we cut away all wood. We did it back in September. Cut away holes in the floor, exposed parts of the floor that were rotted to expose the joists. About 7 joists that need to be. And there's band all the way around. Much of that needs to be. I expect all of that replaced, and the original agreement replace the windows in the door, front of the house, and then side it, so that it would not look. It would just be a drive by, not even at the inside. We had.
So what's the timeline on finishing the whole house?
Sorry. For finishing the whole
Well,
house.
I mean,
inside?
you have to start somewhere. I understand that, but to finish the whole house.
I don't have a plan for. I can do that, like I said. When I say the inside, I mean it'll be structurally sound and everything. Done the sheetrock.
Councilwoman Cuellar, did I jump over you?
No, that's quite all right. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the woman who came in favor of the abatement. She's been dealing with this since 2009, and that's a long time. And I'm looking at these photos. Something should have happened during that time.
Still, the previous mayor was. Am approved.
Sure, he wasn't in office in 2009.
I'm just saying that when I bought the property, 16, I tried to get the permits then. I didn't own the property in 2000. It was a tax delinquent that I buy. Went there, down, get them for them. See by the south neighborhood. Any more vacant lots in the bend? Vacant lots are a sign of.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Stanley at this time?
What's your other property's addresses that you said you've already redone?
The bakery is?
I do.
Bakery, and then the building adjacent to the bakery. And then there's a property on 2206, which you may recall that one. It was in the same, roughly the same condition as others. And drive by now and somebody does.
I don't, I really hate to go back and forth, and I don't want to put.
I could take care of the back. We could. Haven't been able.
Yes, sir.
Here, John.
I saw your finger,
Okay,
sir.
very good. I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from, Mr. Stanley, is that if you could take some significant action, maybe before the next council meeting, that we could see some progress there, then maybe we can say, okay, 60 days, even 90 days to
Well, thanks, sir.
move
That's all
forward.
I'm asking for.
So it sounds like that if the mayor and you can get with the inspector of the department to get your permit. But I think that the main thing, the most thing I'd be willing to do for right now is to give you the time to the next council meeting to make some progress. And hopefully then that would, I'm so sorry that you've had to deal with this for so long, but hopefully that would assuage you a little bit to at least see that we're doing something with it other than tearing down to a.
And that's a good. Structure. Charles did allow that. That.
I have a question. So if we give the gentleman time, and maybe Marty can answer this question, do we start the process all over again?
Place, council would give a certain number of days, and if those requirements were met, then the abatement ended at that point. If they were processing the demolition. So,
That's my concern. If we make just some exterior, and then we go back, where there's nothing done, and we have this poor woman again, will you have to start the process again?
I don't believe so. I'm very sympathetic to the gentleman's plight, his health issues. This house has been sitting like structurally unsafe. Cannot structure. The walls, the ceiling, floor joists, cement. It's in total disrepair, and if you just put up walls, we'll have ways. That's the problem. Water's getting it's off, so it's up to the council decision. But I think the abatement process is still.
Those are my concerns. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. And what I recommend that the public health.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, can we, at that point in time, if he gets his permit issued and you see some progress, then we could actually extend, or we could then, if there is no significant progress, then move forward with the abatement.
Exactly correct.
Thank you, April.
Not disagreeing. Just wanted to. Automatically go. See a burn. So it's same as.
Thank you. Any further questions for this gentleman? All right.
No.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. So from that,
Mr. President,
yes, sir.
Ms. Spearman, I mean, she's here. She's here. Just heard what just happened. Do you mind?
I definitely plan on hearing from this young lady next. I know
Thank
she
you.
had her hand raised.
Right. Ms. Spearman, did she have her hand raised?
She did have her hand
Okay,
raised.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yep,
I'm sorry.
absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Lord has enough. I have something should process.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Anderson?
If he purchased the property by tax late, that particular.
Correct.
particular fix it.
Understood. Thank
Is
you
our
for that.
inspector here?
Sorry?
Is our inspector here?
We have two of them.
Oh. Could we hear from? could we hear
Absolutely.
from,
Come
okay.
on down.
I just want to know, just as far as about the property.
Into possession issues. That's my recommendation.
You feel that he can do a significant amount of work, enough to bring it up to code within 2 weeks? Any questions for these gentlemen? Or as possible postponing it 2 weeks? Is that what you're referring to, Councilman Wilson?
What I had mentioned was to continue public and so the until city council.
Okay. Fair enough. Any questions for these gentlemen before you?
No, I just want to thank the Assistant Fire Chief for that clarification on the permit.
Councilman Linden, anything? Okay, outstanding. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we've already gone through in favors of. Anyone, anyone else against the abatement? Very much. Moving on to our next hearing, notice is hereby given that at its regular public meeting beginning at 6 p.m. on Thursday, March 18th, in the Irondale City Council chambers located at 101 20th Street South, Irondale, Alabama 35210, within Jefferson County, Alabama, the City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested citizens concerning the declaring of 2510 Crestwood Boulevard, Irondale 35210 as a public nuisance and ordering its abatement. Once again, Mr. Schwartz, could you enlighten us on this case?
Before I do that, I would just like to commend Assistant Chief Doss and Mr. Cochran, this process. Mr. Desmond was wonderful for us, a great asset. These gentlemen have stepped in and have really done a great job. So the property mentioned is also known as the Siesta Motel. It's right next to the Golden Rule Restaurant. Not going to get into all the history of this property. A lot of you know about it, tragedy that's been involved there. Also, upon inspection, or let me step back for a second. There were several offers to purchase this property, refused those. Upon the most recent inspection, gentleman can provide even more detail than I can. There were several hundred violations across the board: water, electrical, structural, hoarding. It's uninhabitable, dangerous. It's really, say, you all have the picture. See.
Thank you, Marty. May we actually hear from our building inspectors on this? I think it was 726 violations, something of that nature.
When we went out, very first trip, I had to deal with an attorney. They had one of the daughters out in a time limit, 1 hour, tried to get his back a second day, 6 hours going through every room, I took back and reviewed, came up with, I think it was 1,100 electrical, mechanical, plumbing, public safety is old, structural pictures I included, walls separated, so walkway separating from the building. I don't know if I include, but they've got a lot of rust on them, a lot of structural issues.
Question for you, fellas. How close does this hotel sit to Shades Creek?
Shades Creek is approximately the closest building to Shades.
Questions for these gentlemen or Mr. Schwartz? Councilman London? Councilman Wilson? Copy that. Councilman Box?
Councilman Wilson brought it up a few minutes ago. We have budgeted items for abatement. Now, this is several buildings that were, I guess, actually a commercial graded building. Is that going to make a pretty significant dent in that budget, or do we have any idea of what that possible cost may be if the owners don't do it themselves?
Take the cost position, then we file a lien on the property.
Right.
And try to get the properties there.
Right. Okay. Just didn't know for sure if we had an idea of what that cost may be.
I have to get.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Quayle?
I want to thank you for breaking this down. There were actually 758 code violations. The photographs really tell us just how bad property is, the shape that it's in. So I want to thank you for your thoroughness, for your taking time out to get everything, because that's what we need to make a decision. And this is very informative. I just want to thank you all for the hard work that you've done on this.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman London? Good? Perfect. Thank you very much, fellas. In regards to the public hearing, I'm interested in hearing from anyone that is in favor of the abatement. Anyone in favor of this abatement? Yes, sir. Name and address.
I'm very in favor of city. I've even property. I can see any of them. I think the council, you had about 25,000. It was way more than that. Irondale, quite some already stated,
But once that place, we're looking at thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else in favor of the abatement? Moving on to people not in favor of the abatement. Fair enough. I take a motion to close this public hearing. Can I get a motion to close this public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
And may I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Therefore, we find ourselves here at the opportunity to approve our agenda. Now, I know we've gone through several items. We obviously have to vote on the resolutions tied to the public hearing. But moving beyond the first three items, are there any items that we could put on consent? Would anybody be willing to put item number 4 on consent, which is the EMS billing? Councilman London? Councilman Cuellar?
I'd be willing to do it, but I'd like the breakdown on revenue and then the expenditure for this service so that we have a good idea of inflows and outflows. So I'm willing to go with it on consent if we can do that.
Okay, and it sounds like Chief's got a process in place.
Right.
And it's going to be a learning curve. We're going to just kind of take it as it goes, but I'm sure that they're going to be watching every. All right, Councilman Box?
I don't have a problem with consent for.
Okay, Councilman Wilson? And I do not either. So item number 4 will go on consent. All right. Item number 5, which would be the one talking about the associate agreement with Rocky Ridge Fire. This is the one talking about the health disclosures. Would be willing to put that on consent? Okay, Councilwoman Cuellar, I see
Yes.
nod. Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson? Outstanding. All right, that's 4 and 5. We had, basically, I believe we have agreed to postpone item number 6 weeks. Make note of that. Item number 7 authorizes the mayor to enter into a governmental obligation contract with Republic First National Corporation. Those are budgeted funds. Councilman London, how do you feel about that item?
Consent?
Consent. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Consent.
Fox?
Consent.
Consent.
Okay, and myself, yes. So that would be item number 7. And then item number 8, authorizing the mayor to enter into a non-disclosure agreement with retail specialists related to Project X. Councilman
Yes, consent.
Box?
Consent.
Myself, yes, okay. All right. Coming back up to the very beginning, we have our first 3 items. We know that we need to vote on item number 1. We're going to move forward with that. It sounds like we're going to. It sounds like we're going to pull that item for next council meeting. Discussion. We agree on that?
You're talking about Overton Road?
I'm sorry, I apologize. No, I'm talking about 2305, item number 2 under new. That was the Stanley property.
Stanley was
Yeah.
number 3.
Stanley was number 2.
I'm sorry, number 2.
Yeah, item number 2 is
Yeah.
the gentleman with the house and the young lady that
That's
came
right.
up in favor of. Are we in favor of giving him days to make substantial improvements?
Well, I don't think we should give him 60 days. I think we should.
That's what I'm saying, 2 weeks.
2
Time to
weeks, not
vote,
60
yeah.
days,
Well,
yes.
we
This
just
would come back
heard,
on the agenda in 2
we
weeks.
just heard from the abatement board chairman, we heard from the inspectors. They're saying that there's no way that that building can really, where you can make those improvements to that building.
I personally don't see it either. So
Yeah,
I'm fine with voting on it. I just want body felt.
I'd rather vote on it.
I want to see it hold up to. That's just, I don't care how old, but.
But once again, I don't want to give him 60 days right now, but I'd be willing to see what, if he can go reapply for a permit and get it approved, and if he needs to apply realistically, according to what Chief Doss says, he needs to apply for it realistically instead of just going a low ball. He does that within the 2 weeks, and then he actually goes out there and starts doing something. He's not gonna restore the whole thing, but once he gets his permit, he can put a fence around it, take some of the old rotten wood off the porch, do something in the 2 weeks, and I'd be more amenable to giving him 60 days on April the 7th. That's where I'm on it, so.
Okay. I say we go ahead and we post item, 2 weeks to the next council. A move like that? Weeks?
I think April said we just,
I think the proper public. for
Continue
2
the public
weeks.
hearing for 2
Correct.
weeks to be readdressed at the next council meeting?
To be continued.
To be continued at the next council meeting. Thank you very much. Okay, so when we get into the approval of the agenda, keep that in mind. And then item number 3, we would be voting on. So all of that being said, someone feels confident about a breakdown of the agenda, I would ask for a motion, the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion for the approval of the agenda with the following amendments under new business. Item number 2, be continued. Item number 4, under consent. Item number 5, under consent. Item number 6, to be continued. Item number 7, under consent, and item number 8, under consent.
Yes, I believe that was, that means have a,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Being said, we find ourselves at new business item number 1. May we have a motion for resolution 2021 R20, there's 2999 Road, Irondale, Alabama, 210, a public nuisance.
Make a motion 2021 R20 be moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. We find ourselves at item number 3 under new business, resolved that resolution R21, there's the property at 20 Crestwood Boulevard, Irondale, Alabama, 210, a public nuisance. May we have a motion for that?
20